So you have to be willing to sort of make arrangements and work things out so that you can do your job. We support sometimes, but a lot of times we don't. It's good just to be with my constituents and hear what they have to say and understand some of the challenges that they're facing. Hello, my name is Sigurdson, and I'm the MLA for Edmonton Riverview. And I have kind of a unique riding. It straddles both sides of the North Saskatchewan River, hence the name Riverview. Well, I'm a social worker by profession, and I had 30 years experience before I ever actually was elected as a MLA. But social work, we use obviously government money, and I worked through the Klein era where he cut public programs by 50%. And I saw the devastation of populations I served. And I felt that the decisions the Conservatives were making were really hurting very vulnerable people and not very inclusive or fair. And but I never saw myself as a politician. I was a social worker. But Rachel Notley, who was the Premier of Alberta for a period of time and also the leader of our party, she influenced me and asked me to run. And like many women, I said no, and but she wouldn't leave me alone. And so eventually I did run. And yeah, here I am many years later. Well, because the values of the New Democrats are very similar to social work. They're very inclusive. You know, everyone belongs. You don't have to be part of the elite. You can, you know, we have a very diverse caucus, many people of color, Indigenous people, and you know, LGBTQ community, so the pride community is represented. So yeah, it's kind of a mosaic of, I think, our province too. Whereas if you look across the aisle at the current government, mostly white guys. So I think having, you know, that kind of value that supports all to come together. And I mean, obviously, the social worker and social justice, sort of the NDC. So it's the best party for me. Well, I guess because I care about people. You know, I can see vulnerabilities. I grew up in northern Alberta in a small town in the Peace Country, and I could see the unfairness. We had a large Indian band right next door to the town I lived in, and just the discrepancies in the support they had and the unfairness and the racism, you know. And I grew up in a home where my family had mental health and addiction issues. So personally, I knew there were a lot of things that if my parents had been willing, they could have reached out and gotten support, but they never did because they weren't well enough to do that, unfortunately. And I just always wanted to make sure that, you know, people were supported. And it's a noble profession. I'm very proud to be a social worker. Well, they do lots of things. I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm not a government MLA right now. I was in Notley's government and I was in her cabinet. So when you're in the cabinet, you have a portfolio. And I was, for the most part, the Minister of Housing and Seniors. And so therefore, you know, we have a big department that serves seniors and affordable housing in our province. So we make decisions about making sure that there is affordable housing, or we created the Office of the Seniors Advocate. So, I mean, we did a lot of work in a short time. It was 4 years, but we, of course, didn't win that election in 2019. And so now in opposition, my job really is sort of to be the shadow minister for 3 different areas. One is seniors, the other is continuing care, and the other is home care. So again, I can't make the decisions. I don't have access to the levers of power because I'm not government, but I can showcase or challenge the government, certainly in the legislature, sometimes in the media, meeting with stakeholders about that. So that's kind of the political part of it. But of course, there is, you know, I meet with constituents all the time in my riding. They may be having trouble with some kind of provincial program, the education system, the health system, whatever it may be. And so myself and my staff help them to be able to access services. So I'm an advocate. And there's a whole bunch more, but maybe that's enough. Well, there's no typical days, is what I want you to know. Like every day is different. And when you're in the legislature, like we're in session, you know, on Monday, we're in a fall session. So then you have a bit more structure, you know, that, okay, question period is at 1:30. And so you must be in the House. If you're presenting a question, asking a question or a member statement, you have to be prepared for that. There's, you know, practice in the morning. You know, we write our own questions, our own member statements. They have to be vetted by our communications team. And we debate the legislation that the Conservatives bring forward. You know, and we support sometimes, but a lot of times we don't, and there's a lot of things in this fall session that we're not supporting. So we're, debating the merits of the legislation. So I guess the days are more structured when we're in session. Otherwise, we could be traveling across the province, meeting with stakeholders, meeting with other MLA's constituents about issues that, maybe it says something about seniors or something, because that's my area. So there's lots of things to do. During reading week in the public school system, I go and read to lots of students. So it's very, I think, diverse what we do. It's, I think the only thing that perhaps makes it a bit more structured is when we are in session. Well, certainly, we invested $1.2 billion in affordable housing, and I was the minister, so I was responsible for that. So I feel very proud of that. And the second thing is we created an independent, standalone office of the seniors advocate, someone who's a champion for seniors' rights, and that made me also very proud. And the sad thing now is that as soon as the Conservatives got in, they closed that office, fired the seniors advocate, and have, had a quarter of what we invest in affordable housing on an annual basis. They are. So all our work feels like it's, thrown out the window, which is the worst day in the legislature. Well, it's good to always meet with constituents. And I do speak to a lot of students in school. In grade 6, it's the curriculum is provincial government. So as the representative for the schools in my community, I get to meet with students, and I enjoy that, and they ask me lots of questions and things. So it's good just to be with my constituents and hear what they have to say, and understand some of the challenges that they're facing. Yeah, to someone who was interested in going into politics, you need a big commitment. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It takes a lot of work. You have to be quite disciplined, and you need to have support. I'm a single mom. And my sons were much younger. I have 3 sons. My sons are much younger when I first started. And, you need people to be around you. There is a cost to it. And there were some things that didn't work out so great for my kids because I was just gone, because I was traveling the province. I was in the cabinet, so I was very, very busy. So you have to be willing to sort of make arrangements and work things out so that you can do your job. And it can be very tough. And I think it's particularly tough for women, because generally women take care of those kind of caretaking roles. So I guess go into it with your eyes open and know about that, and make sure that you are willing to do that. And I think really to, have a vision for what you want to create. I think that that's important too. And of course, you will never do that alone. You do that with your party. But doing that, but it's a very important thing. It's a bit of a sacrifice, but it's key for people to stand up and be willing to sort of put themselves in harm's way. It really, you're not protected if you're a politician. There's a lot of attack, certainly with social media. If you're a woman, there's more attack for sure. And certainly, you just got to be aware of that and ready for it, and know that it's not about you personally, but sadly, our society can be very discriminatory, and that's disturbing. So, you need to have the courage of your convictions to do this kind of work. Well, I'm not going to be here for the next 10 years. That's the first one. I've been already elected since 2015, and I first ran in 2012. I didn't win that election. So, and I'm in my 60s, so I don't see myself, being in this chair that much longer. So the thing about provincial politics is a bit different than like municipal government, and it's really about sort of the vision the party has. And of course, we've just gotten a new leader, we had Nenshi, and so of course the leader, along with us, creates the vision for our party. So it's something that will be obviously, I want robust public programs. That investment I talked about early when the client cut public programs by 50%, and I'll always be an advocate for strong public programs, making sure professionals are treated fairly. Conservatives have, torn up doctors' contracts, not, pushed many people out of the province because of their disregard and disrespect for professionals. And I find that very disturbing. So advocating for that too, and and the larger vision as it materializes with our new leader.